preference, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balanced fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Hello and welcome everyone to the 375th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, April 8th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today. And we are hosting Mr. Mayran Kesh of the Kesh Foundation. And as usual, he will present today's Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Hello, Mr. Kesh. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever you listen to this is of Knowledge Seekers Workshops. It is interesting in what we have started past few weeks, how many of you have started to understand slowly the process of
Buenos días a todos. Vamos a proseguir con la creación. Y no sé cuántos de ustedes han interpretado lo que les dije la semana pasada, pero vamos a proseguir con todas estas temáticas.
They came out with the names, fantasy ideas, and in not seeing it, but one elaborating on the work of the other, they made it very real. In so many ways, in the
No sabe cuánto han interpretado los científicos y sus ideas, pero han elaborado ideas totalmente distintas. Vamos a tratar de esclarecer todo esto.
There was all dreams. These are all something fantasized and the other followed. And they created more names as they could not understand. As I was talking to the people who are teachers, and we talked about this many times before.
He hablado con muchos científicos y les he planteado lo del neutrón de un átomo de hidrógeno en el comienzo de todo. Y todas las estructuras en todos los niveles no difieren de lo que es la estructura del universo. El problema de la ciencia de hoy en día es comprender cómo es que funciona todo esto. Cómo es que los campos de energía vienen hacia nosotros, cómo entran al entorno y cómo trabajan sobre cada elemento. La posición de los elementos, en la posición de la configuración de todo en el universo. El ser humano debe comprender más cómo es que funciona todo esto.
Many times we consider that the strength is more within than from outside.
Muchas veces consideramos que la fuerza de uno proviene de por dentro y no de fuera del universo.
In the world of physics, we can look at the structure, something we can hold, something we can define everything.
En el mundo de la física podemos tener algo en la mano, podemos tocarlo.
And you have the white. It's its own element. But at certain points, you have the shell.
Pero si toman un huevo de gallina, lo blanco o la clara del huevo es lo que le da la energía al pollito.
and how
donde
do
se
we
cuajan
relate to it?
las energías que provienen del universo, y eso nutre y le da vida
Here and interact with
al
the
germen, que es el
science.
pollito que está creciendo dentro del huevo.
In so many ways, we have made a very big misunderstanding of, again, definition of the field forces.
No hemos comprendido bien lo que son las fuerzas de campos de energía.
Magnetical to pressure. And let's call the gravitational or the pressure a magnetical, the vacuum, the sucking out the energy or pulling out the field. We find out that there is no difference.
Llamemos, para poder comprender esto mejor, la fuerza gravitacional como la presión, la magnética como el campo de energía que proviene de fuera.
It'll be easier to understand that if you call the pressure gravity, you find a lot of similarities. The world of science becomes
Si llaman a la fuerza gravitacional como la presión, encontramos varias similitudes con lo que nos han enseñado.
What they call the pressure or gravity is one pushed on and enforced on.
Debemos comprender que la gravitación es lo que nos empuja, lo que nos aplasta. La fuerza que nos planta sobre la materia.
Become equal, or gravity field forces within the structure stand the pressure.
Pero debemos comprender que la fuerza gravitacional y la fuerza magnética se equilibran y buscan el equilibrio.
One gives up and the other one breaks through. The same is true.
La fuerza magnética pone presión y la gravitación toma esa energía, la equilibra.
Magnetical field strength pressures that we can break into the plasmas, that we can split the plasma, or create a condition outside the plasma that by pulling it or creating a vacuum of the field forces, be able to create separation or division of the cell of the plasma.
Lo que debemos comprender es que trabajando con el plasma podemos trabajar con estos campos de magnetismo. Podemos separar la influencia de estos campos.
The plasma physicists, nuclear physicists are in the dynamic, where they see things, but they can't.
Todo esto trabaja en forma dinámica.
They observe changes in condition of the plasma, but they do not know how to handle
Los físicos ven el cambio de estos cambios que se producen en los campos del plasma, pero no saben interpretar qué es lo que ocurre.
Neutron to be split by other objects that it splits. But we see this happens naturally in neutron itself, and it divides itself in electron and proton. As we talked last
Los científicos tratan de destruir en el proceso atómico nuclear, pero no comprenden que esto ocurre naturalmente cuando el neutrón se degrada y produce el protón y el electrón.
And in so many ways, every man, every child, they can understand the process of what we call plasma technology, the process of creation.
Todo esto es el proceso de la creación, cómo el neutrón genera el protón y el electrón, que es la trilogía del comienzo de todo.
in a very hidden way.
cómo trabajan los
And
campos de
instead of
energía.
feeling strength outside, they gather and they create the condition of the manifestation or exertion of the field forces or the strength on their environment.
Estos campos de energía
I have
crean
tried for many
todo el
years
entorno
to
que
find a
nosotros
way to be able
sabemos
to
visualizar
manipulate
en
physics and plasma technology
naturaleza.
in a simple way that everyone can understand that in the depth of the universe, as a traveler of the universe, we can converse, we can understand the changes and where one leads to the other.
Yo lo que les trato de enseñar es cómo en el universo trabajan esas fuerzas, los campos de energía para generar todo este entorno que
At
conocemos.
what point a plasma becomes matter? And at what point
Cómo
matter becomes
estos campos de energía,
or
al ir deteriorándose, crean la materia. En otras palabras, la materia es el deterioro
because that common
de
strength value
de estos campos de energía.
is what decides the size and the volume of a plasma. It's not coincidental. It is not by accident that every electron in the universe, in our universe, has a specific bandwidth of energy, a volume. And at the same time,
Los volúmenes de la materia están
has the same
relacionados con los campos de energía de los distintos electrones. No es
dictates the size of
coincidencia que el nivel de energía del electrón nos da justamente el volumen que ocupa
Today,
la
we
materia.
go in a soft way, but to the edge of science of man. We break through, or we try to break through, that mankind understands this process. As knowledge seekers, if you cannot understand the process of the size and the volume of the plasma, there is no way you can expand the size of the soul of the man, to expand beyond the physical boundary of the man.
Lo que deben comprender ustedes
This
es
is
que
what will come very, very
trabajando
clear.
con el plasma y trabajando con los distintos volúmenes del plasma,
We know
no van a
the
poder
neutrons
comprender cómo se puede expandir
but how can
el
and what does
campo del
dictate
alma.
this separation?
Está
At what
relacionado
point
los campos del
the
plasma,
split
los
comes?
campos de
And
energía
in
del
that
plasma con
process,
los
can the
campos
proton
de
extend
nuestras
its
almas.
strength that covers the electron and brings it to be within? This is the process what we call interfusion, interatomic fusion. And I've written a paper about this, which is published. And in a way, interatomic fusion, where the soul of the body of the man extends itself in a strength that within it covers the physicality of the man. Because the physicality of the man itself is an electron. It shows itself because the proton or the center, the soul of the man, does not allow the expansion.
Visualizan el cuerpo del hombre como el volumen generado por el electrón para encapsular el alma, que es lo que le da
I think we've lost sound there, Mr. Kesh.
In the center of the brain of the man, we consider to be the electron to be a very little one. But if you look, there is a discrepancy in the
Ahí hubo unos problemas de audio que se cortó y bueno, hemos perdido algunos conceptos ahí. Yo para colmo estoy escuchando en dos imágenes distintas que están desfasadas como 15 segundos.
In the world of creation, when the plasma and the matter comes, the matter moves. The proton, as the look of it, moves. But in fact, the proton sits in the center. Is the electron the physicality, or is the physicality the proton? That it has encapsulated the soul of the man which is the actual, the true problem. This is where mankind will have a problem in a coming time in the depth of space to converge from the soul of the man to the physicality, at the same time changing the physicality to the soul of the man in a dimension of field forces, but separately operating within each other. Part of the teaching of today and in coming time is to explain that how come when it comes to the matter state of the manifestation,
En parte la enseñanza de hoy es para poder explicar y comprender cómo el campo de energía del electrón es el que le da al cuerpo humano su volumen y el protón está el que maneja todo, que es el alma del cuerpo, en la parte física. Y el neutrón es el alma original.
In atomic physics, we look at an atom, proton is serene in the center, electron moves. In the combination of the gas plasma technology, which is the body of the man, in manifestation with the field outside, which is the physicality of the existence of this planet with its fields, the soul of the man, which is the most powerful one, and the real center of the what we call existence, becomes stationary and accepts position within the center of the brain. One of the biggest problems
en el cuerpo del ser humano, el electrón es el que da la forma, el protón es el que está en el centro y el neutrón es el alma original que está en el medio del cerebro de la persona.
Serene proton in the center of the brain of the man be able to expand maybe to the boundary of the electron itself, which is the body of the man, or beyond. This is why
la energía del protón que está en el centro del cuerpo es el que interacciona con el electrón y el que maneja el volumen del cuerpo. Inclusive puede llegar a influenciar por fuera del campo del electrón del cuerpo. Y el neutrón, que es el alma original, está siempre protegido por el protón y el electrón.
In a magnetic field strength, or man will walk away from the whole understanding of the process of the creation as he cannot comprehend the whole process. This is why some of us in the time of the space travel will stay behind. And some of us will move to the dimension.
Comprendan que esto es fundamental para comprender cómo uno interrelaciona el electrón, el protón y el neutrón, porque si no, el día de mañana, cuando vayan al espacio, van a tener problemas para interactuar entre el alma original, el alma del cuerpo y el cuerpo mismo, y mantener su equilibrio. El que no pueda comprender esto va a elegir mantenerse en el cuerpo físico.
Then it'll bring a new ways of understanding and need to understand why some of us can and some of us can't. Some of us can expand the dimension of the soul of the man beyond the physicality, or be able to bring the dimension of the soul of the man to the boundaries of the physicality. In a coming time, the Keshe Foundation will introduce a new plasma detection or manifestation system. where you can stand in front of the system and in a way, by training and absorbing energies within the boundary of the system, to be able to expand your soul or the energy of the center of the body
En
of
el
the man,
futuro nosotros tendremos que
where you shall not
empezar a comprender que podemos expandir la influencia de nuestra alma hacia afuera del cuerpo nuestro.
in a way, your physicality still can exist within the boundary of the plasma of the proton of the soul of the man, and will not see anything by light. In so many ways, we see this at the point of death. This is the point where many people who reach this point will come to understand they see the light. They see the light of the soul of themselves, not something outside. Because when the
Cuando un ser humano llega al punto de muerte y ven esa luz, lo que ven no es la luz de algo fuera, sino que ven su propia luz de su alma. Hasta ahora no, el ser humano no ha sabido explicar esta situación.
Within the line of the physical vision of the man, his nervous system, will see the interaction of the expansion of the field of the soul of the man expanding out.
Mañana, cuando empiecen a comprender esto, van a poder ver cómo la luz del alma expande por fuera del cuerpo del ser humano.
The magnetic field of what we call the dimension of physicality, which is the blood circulation, under control, then we can keep the physicality still alive, but allowing the soul to extend. Then we come to understand.
El día de mañana podremos mantener esa circulación sanguínea para mantener nuestro entorno del cuerpo, pero podremos expandir por fuera de la influencia de nuestra alma, los campos de energía de nuestra alma.
Being able to communicate between the two, where we can allow
podremos mantener esa comunicación entre el alma y nuestro cuerpo. Cuerpo físico. Y esto podrá hacer que nuestra alma se expanda de forma pareja por fuera del cuerpo.
The whole understanding comes. How does the man in the physicality learns to allow the soul to extend beyond, but still be aware that in that position
debemos aprender cómo el alma puede expandirse por fuera de nuestro cuerpo físico para influenciar el entorno.
In that point, there is no point of physical emotion touch, because every cell of the man has become part of the physical structure of the plasma of the physicality, or what we call in the Ganser state. Then there is a need for awareness that we're still what we call the structure of the communication and interface in the physical dimension, we call it the brain, can move outside than within, that it can communicate with the soul of it. And at that point, when the soul sees the right place, the right condition, can revert back to the dimension of physicality.
Cuando podremos trabajar con nuestra alma y proyectarnos por fuera de nuestro cuerpo y ver esta interacción entre el cuerpo y el alma, podemos lograr hacer maravillas con toda esta relación.
But you as knowledge seekers can start. In the coming days, Keshe Foundation is going through this
Ustedes,
process.
buscadores de conocimiento, en
As
los próximos
part
días
of the
podrán
transmutation and
ir
transformation of
aprendiendo a
Keshe
cómo
Foundation,
hacer esto.
within next
¿Qué
few
cambio?
hours and days, we will be testing this, where we allow the what we call transmutation and transportation not only to be in the essence of the physical movement, but allowing the expansion of the soul of the man within the new environment we create.
Podremos lograr expandir
The
los campos de
understanding for the man
relación de
is
nuestra alma por
how
fuera de nuestro
he will be
cuerpo
able to go
y
through the
lograr
transmutation. In
manejar
so many
esta
ways,
relación.
how can we go from the plasma, expanding it to cover the physicality, but at the same
Podremos
time
expandir la
be
influencia del
able
plasma
to
de
do the
nuestra alma
reverse? In a
original
way,
por
if you
fuera de nuestro
understand
cuerpo
the
físico.
totality of the creation, it's very simple. How do I move you from one to another? And when the time comes right, and when the whole process is in the protection of the cell, I can go back to what it was.
Podrán
Where the
lograr que el alma
physicality takes the
modifique
dimension,
la relación de
and the
los
soul
distintos componentes de
goes back
nuestro
to
cuerpo
becoming
y
spiritual.
nuestro entorno y poder revertir esta
The
situación.
problem you will have is this challenge. The speed that you can transmute between the two.
Cómo el alma
Our
podrá
children,
transmutar,
which are
cambiar de
created from the soul of
posición
the man, will do
distintas
this.
situaciones,
But
distintos
for those of us who are created in
entornos.
the dimension of physicality, there's transmutation, the speed of what you call light, but in fact,
Transmutar una cosa
transmutation
con
of the self,
otra,
the matter,
lo
the
que
matter
también
itself,
con la energía de que
the
llamamos
plasma
luz.
will become the cornerstone of the future world. In so many
Y
ways,
esto son los puntos
mankind has,
fundamentales de nuestro futuro.
mankind has no choice but to understand this process.
El ser humano no tiene otra salida más
The
que
biggest problem
comprender esta
for
situación,
mankind
aprender cómo se
is
hace.
when the three become one. This is what you will have a problem with. In so many ways, on one side, you're the soul. Going through the light, you become the matter. But in what speed you transmute,
¿Cómo
and
puede ser? El
what
ser humano
the effect of
transmuta
physicality in a
del
matter
alma
state
al cuerpo
of the
físico y del
point
cuerpo
destination
físico al
expression
alma. A
will
través de la
be
luz
dictated
se
by the
hace
plasma of the soul of
materia
the man in
y a través
interaction
de
with
la
this
luz
environment,
vuelve
or primarily the soul of physicality with this
al
environment.
alma.
In a
Todo a
way,
través de la
if you understand this,
pasaje por la
it
luz.
becomes very, very simple game to play.
Es lo que está
The
mostrando con los
simplicity
libros.
comes in a very funny
Va
way.
de la materia a través de
Because
la luz
what's going to
al
happen
alma y del alma a través de la
is
luz vuelve a
you
la
can
materia.
dictate
Transmuta una cosa a otra.
in what shape you want to manifest yourself in a dimension, in a new environment, which you have
Y
manifested
ustedes
yourself.
sabrán cómo podrán expresarse, en qué forma quieren
neutral
expresarse, en la materia
splits
como alma,
in a very fast way and goes through the process.
y
But
pueden
in that
hacer este
process,
proceso muy
it
rápidamente.
loses part of it, what we call electron, to keep its balance. But can we do the same with the soul of the man? Expanding the soul to a new dimension, but breaking away
Podremos expandir
from the
nuestra
field
alma a
forces
una
of
nueva
creation
dimensión.
in the point of interaction and manifestation. In a process of
Expandiendo esta interacción
understanding the fields of the
que tiene
creation,
nuestra alma con el entorno.
mankind will have to understand this process.
El ser humano
The
tendrá
way
que comprender
we
este proceso.
change clothes when we go from the warm to cold, or we go from cold to warm. We have to learn the same process. Which fields we need not to overdo, but to be just enough in respect to the environment of this presence.
Debemos comprender que cuando
In so
tenemos
many
frío o
ways,
calor,
I
nos
can
sacamos
explain this in a
abrigo
very
o nos
simple way.
ponemos abrigo. El alma tendrá
If we
que
get, or
comprender
we
que
consider
podrá hacer lo
this
mismo
body
en
as
esta
the new
transmutación
environment. This is where we
entre el
are
alma y el
as we
cuerpo
live.
físico.
And in the transmutation and transportation of fields of the universe, we manage
En
to do
su
one thing,
transmutación y
and that is,
transporte en el
we
universo
manage to move the
logre esta
soul
relación.
into a new position. But how do we carry the
Como el
physicality
alma
into the new environment?
puede ir a
This is
una nueva posición en el
1G,
universo y tenemos
this
que
is
saber
20G.
cómo
But the soul has reached
podemos
the point. How
transportar
is it going to
nuestro
manifest
físico a ese
itself
nuevo
in a
punto en el
physical
universo.
dimension? Does it need to, or would it matter, appears in a matter state? Or the field
¿Cómo
forces of
puede
the new
aparecer
environment
en forma física en ese nuevo lugar en el
appear
universo?
as a light? Because this is the only way it sees itself, in being able to exist in the new environment.
¿Cómo aparecer en forma física o en forma de luz?
We do this in the sleep. We allow the soul to travel.
Hacemos
and
eso
have a
cuando estamos
hold on the
durmiendo.
dimension of physicality. The biggest problem,
Dejamos que
as
el
I said,
alma
for mankind will come
haga
when we
todo
come
esto,
back
pero
soul.
deberemos dominar esto
to the old, back to earth.
para poder lograr
Would
todos
you
estos
have
cambios, estas
the same
transmutaciones.
physicality? Would I recognize you as the man who left with the original feature, or shall I have a new face? Would
Podremos
my children
volver
recognize me
o
as
materializar
father
nuestro cuerpo en
who was,
la forma
or
que lo vemos
in a
siempre,
new
o
face
podremos
they have to
cambiar
choose?
su faz,
But
su
again goes
apariencia.
with the same thing. In what speed of light, or would I manifest myself as a light in a new dimension?
Y en esta nueva
The
dimensión
most
podré
important
manifestarme
part for
como
most of you
luz
knowledge
o
seeker
como materia.
is your hypocrisy to see this, to believe. But the hypocrisy comes that you dream about the Father, even he's not here, and you recognize the soul and the field of the soul, even the Father is dead. And with this process, you try to mismatch to fit into physicality and the plasma of life of the soul of the man, and it doesn't fit. And this is why many knowledge seekers are in the dilemma, I want to see the soul of myself, then I believe it. I have a very simple answer for you. Even the Creator hasn't seen himself. As he is manifested.
Muchos quieren ver su alma y tienen una sorpresa. Ni el Creador ha podido ver su propia alma.
Those of you who want to be able to see your soul, you'll wait for a long, long time. Because
El que quiere ver su propia alma va a tener que esperar mucho tiempo.
in the dimension of the soul. Because it's impossibility. And you will see this will be the biggest argument for many of you who become the traveler of the space.
Esto va a ser el mayor de los
You will
predicamentos de
appear
cada uno de
in the
ustedes.
dimension of the physicality or light,
Cómo lograr estas
but in so many
transmutaciones.
ways you shall never see the soul of man. Unless
Cuando
some of you
nunca han
are very clever
visto
and
vuestra
create
propia
a
alma.
mirror for the soul. This is the hypocrisy that many of you will use to confirm your ignorance of existence, where by the time you close your eyes, this expands beyond and travels to another dimension. And in so many ways, the Father dead is met and talked to in his environment. And you say, I had a dream, I met my Father. He is not physically existing, but the soul connected to his soul allows you to see him in the dimension of physicality as you remember, even though in
Esto
the
es
new
como es
dimension
una
it
forma
might look like
también como
this.
nuestra alma
To the people
en
who are in that
estado
dimension,
de
the field strength
durmiendo puede
of what
conectarse
is
con el
called
alma de nuestros
Father
padres.
is that telephone number which you have at the strength of your field in the dimension of your soul. This process will keep you busy for centuries, thousands of years. If you
Este
don't understand,
proceso
if
los
you are
mantendrá
ignorant
ocupados
still
durante
to
centurias.
cover yourself with the dimension of when I see it, I believe it. In a way, wait. The Creator has been waiting from the beginning of the time of the creation, and that's why He created that.
Todos decimos, quiero ver para creer.
The love of His
El
existence.
Creador también ha esperado
Only
durante
way that He
eones
can
para
manifest
lograr
Himself
esto.
to confirm His own existence. In so many
¿Cómo
ways,
confirmar cada uno de nosotros nuestra propia
as I said
existencia?
many times in the recent past, if you read these three books and understand it in the essence through is word by word, a mixture of the two or three.
Si han leído los
Then you
libros, si
understand
han
the true meaning of
comprendido
the creation.
la esencia de lo
Everything
que se
mankind
explica en
needs
los
to
tres
know
libros,
to become the travelers of the space
podrán
and of physicality or the soul are
comprender
in these
cómo
books.
viajar en el
How
espacio
you understand it
y
according
dominar
to your
todos estos
intellect and
movimientos,
according
estas
to your
transmutaciones.
prejudices more than your intellect. The ignorance of the man will come from his prejudices into what is being told and what is being learned. Yesterday, I was talking to the most senior nuclear physicist of the nation. And the day before yesterday. And he brought me to a question. Such a man who heads as the most senior nuclear physicist has a dilemma to understand the process of the field transfer. How do we expect from a man, ordinary man on the street to understand? But we see those who
Hace
become
un par de días atrás estuve hablando con
of
un
the limits of the knowledge of the physics,
físico
they get
de
trapped.
primer nivel explicándole todo esto. Y al físico
They find
hasta el día de hoy
and
no
then
puede
maybe they
comprender
can
cómo es
translate
esta
this to
relación,
those who have a problem with this.
la relación
But
de los
in
campos
reality,
de
all of
energía.
us do dream. We feel a dream. We taste the food. We feel the touch of the mother.
Cómo
We
en los
remember
campos de energía de
the
nuestros
process of
sueños
touch.
podemos
We remember
tocar,
the colors she
cómo
wore,
podemos oler,
the
cómo
colors
podemos
of the dresses
gustar
she wears at the
cosas
present
en nuestros
time
sueños.
with us. But we always had a line transfer transmutation we call the filter of the brain of man in communication between the two. And this is where all of not only
Siempre hemos
human
tenido el alma del
all the
hombre
races
que ha
in the universe
trabajado
run
como
into
filtro
problem
de esto.
when they want to see a plasma when you are within the plasma yourself. Many of you will come to question your integrity, your sanity, when it comes to be able to understand this.
Muchos de ustedes van a
Because
cuestionar
it doesn't
vuestra
fit
integridad,
into
vuestra
the
sanidad
As I said,
cuando empiecen a comprender esto.
nuclear physicists tell me it doesn't fit into what I've been told, Mr. Kesh, what I've been trained, and I accept it.
El físico con que estuve charlando dice, yo no comprendo esto, cómo lo que nos han enseñado cabe dentro de lo que usted me está explicando.
Taste the food, smell the odor of the inside. Try to understand a new dimension. In the physical dimension, everything has to be tangible or visible that we accept it. But in the dimension of the soul of the man and the plasma of the fields of interaction, there is no such a thing.
Debemos comprender cómo en la parte física nosotros degustamos, olemos, y cómo en nuestros sueños podemos lograr lo mismo. Podemos lograr esta comprensión. Tocar cosas, degustar, oler en nuestros sueños.
In so many ways, if you can share it, please. In so many ways, this is a beautiful video. Explains a lot of things about the world.
Les voy a mostrar un video donde puede explicar un poco esta relación.
To be in a place where it was in front of me, I could explain and see the world of creation, the creation of black hole, the creation of the soul, the creation of how the fields in interaction with their environment bring this position.
Cómo los campos de energía interrelacionan con el entorno.
Please. You have a look and see this video. It's taken in a waterfall, and you see the rotation.
Este video fue tomado desde un celular.
You see how there is nothing, but as the environment of the flow of the water outside increases, then you see the change. You see the existence. We see a shadow, Rick, is covering the whole thing. You have to take your shadow away. Can you? You're superimposing a shadow on the whole thing. Can you start it from the beginning, please?
Acá podremos ver cómo el fluir del agua interrelaciona.
We see like an L shape in the picture. Can you take it out and replay it again? Yep. Okay, it's correct now. Go back to the beginning of the tape, please, from the beginning.
Do you want the sound as well, Mr. Kesh?
El video desde el comienzo de nuevo.
Okay, we'll put that up a bit.
Can you play?
No.
If you look at this, this is the second video or the first one. This is the, if you look how the black hole or the field flow comes in, the water coming from different dimensions into this pool shows you how the fields change and how rapidly out of nowhere a field flow creates a black hole.
Fíjense cómo el agua fluyendo crea ese agujero negro, cambia su posición y su tamaño.
If you understand. You see there are 2 or 3 different directions under the bricks where the water comes in and changes the environment. We lost it again, Rick. You see half of the picture, yeah. And you come to see the field forces, the vortexes of the fields of the water are still there.
Podemos ver cómo el fluir del agua en forma de vórtice va cambiando la posición, el tamaño, la configuración de ese agujero negro.
Can you show the second video, please? This is the best one. If you have a look at this
un segundo video también que lo vemos más cerca, cómo interrelaciona.
They gather, they come in, they pull in at the same time as the paint disappears, and suddenly the right strength manifests the soul.
Cómo se crea ese agujero negro, cómo interrelaciona con el alma ahí dentro del agujero negro.
we haven't changed anything. You see how soul moves, but you still see the outer
Pueden ver
circle.
cómo el alma se
And
mueve
how we can transmute and
y
transport
cómo
in
podemos
so many ways
transmutar
fields of the universe.
una cosa en otra,
We see
cómo
the
podemos
creation of the black
transportar
hole and how it's done.
esto.
And if you look at it, the direction and the rotation is very much different. This, in fact, shows us a lot
Acá podemos
in how we
percibir
will
cómo,
manifest ourselves in the new
trabajando con los
dimension and the
campos
new
plasmáticos,
environment.
podemos
The change of the environment
modificar,
comes
transmutar,
from the flow of the
desplazar
water inside
cualquier cosa.
from different directions. But the structure within, which is the soul, has still got its strength. You still see the field flowing.
Podemos percibir
And
que la
then when it
estructura del
comes to the
alma, que es
point,
el
the soul
centro de
takes
este
over.
agujero
It
negro,
shows the field flow dimension
permanece, queda ahí,
as
pero
a
modifica
plasma
todo su
physicist, as a
entorno
nuclear
y recibe
physicist.
toda esta energía,
This confirms even the first paper I wrote, the
interrelaciona con
creation of
esta
the black hole.
energía.
Fields coming out as much as they go in and going in every dimension. It's the environment which
Como
creates
la
different
energía
channels.
entra y sale
It's the environment
de ese
we got back
entorno.
on the track. This is what Rick has found, recently released by the scientific world as the latest picture from a black hole. You see the same
Esta es
field.
una foto muy
You see
reciente
the
tomada de un agujero
arrows
negro.
on the strings
Acá
of
pueden
the field
percibir
forces
cómo
into the
los
center.
campos de
But
energía,
the most important thing for
el
us
plasma
is
gira
what are
alrededor del
those
alma,
gaps
de
which
este
show us
centro
the
negro.
field? Are those gaps where the fields are of a different strength, or are those gaps where the fields come out of the source at a higher strength in a narrower field? Thank you very
Pueden
much.
percibir las líneas
In so many
de los
ways,
campos de
if you
energía,
put
cómo se
the two
relacionan
pictures
entre
next
ellos,
to each other,
cómo
you will see and understand
están
the
relacionados al
total
campo
new
que
concept about the
le
soul
da
of
esta
man.
energía.
How we can extend the soul of the man beyond the limitation.
Acá podemos percibir cómo
How we
podemos
can bring
extender
the
los
total
campos de nuestra
understanding
alma
to this
al
process.
entorno.
It's the environment of the pool, the way the waters come in, changing the dimension and the strength, which changes the manifestation
Acá vemos
of
cómo los campos de
physicality
energía
in the shape
modifican
of the black hole.
el campo, el
In so many
agujero
ways,
negro, nuestra alma.
mankind
Cómo nuestra alma
needs to understand
relaciona
this process.
con el entorno, cómo interacciona con
How
él.
do you strengthen the size of the soul to
¿Cómo
become
pueden
bigger,
trabajar ustedes
to
con
overcome the
vuestra
physicality
alma,
and cover the
modificando
physicality
su
within?
tamaño, su relación, su
In so
interrelación
many
con el
ways,
entorno?
we have reached this point, and we have to
De
understand.
muchas maneras hemos
We
llegado a
have to
este
comprehend
punto.
the totality
Debemos
to be able to
comprenderlo
transmute
y
between
saber
the soul of
trabajar
the
con él.
man to the physicality, in respect of position and space, where the two interact, the two communicate, the two become one, that it says, here is a danger, I'm going in, you take over.
Debemos
Where
empezar
what
a
we will
comprender
see
cómo
is
nuestra alma
only the light.
trabaja con el entorno y
In a
puede
way, the
prever
two
cualquier
interact, that
momento
only
de
one
peligro
manifests itself. Can we go on the camera, please?
para transmutar, cambiar esa relación, ese entorno.
Can we go on the camera? Thank you very much. In a way that what we see is we only see the light. The physicality comes
Siempre
in
vemos la
between,
luz.
and the soul
Detrás de la
becomes
luz
center.
está nuestra
And
alma y está nuestro
when the
cuerpo
position
físico.
is right, when the field
Cuando
strength
la
of the
posición
environment is
está
right,
correcta,
when the communication between the two parts
cuando la
become
comunicación entre
one
las dos
to
partes
feel
está
safe
bien,
and to manifest, we play the game back.
estos se
where the
manifiestan y
light
vuelven a
becomes
su
fading in the background
posición
and
original.
physicality becomes the manifestation.
Y nuestro físico
The properties of
recupera
love
su manifestación.
have reached this point. And those of the mankind who become pure in soul, understanding the process of the
Y aquellos
wonderful balance
que
and
logren
unity,
esa posición
will
de
reach
la
this
alma
point.
pura podrán lograr
Many
esta
of us,
mutación, estos cambios.
the only thing, if we are lucky to see, is the light when the demise of the physicality has taken over. And
Y
only
si
the
no,
soul of man exists.
solo lograrán
And
ver
this is the
esa
point
luz
many of you will fade.
cuando dejen su cuerpo
That
físico.
you become the light without the dimension of physicality because you left the physicality behind in the world of the matter state of the earth.
Esto es
This
porque
is what you
no han logrado
This is
este
how
equilibrio
we have
y
to
han dejado
understand
atrás
the total
vuestro
process.
cuerpo físico y son
And in so many ways,
cambiado a
you
luz.
even move this out of the way, you become the light. And in this process, you become the creator.
Saquemos el agujero
So
negro de
there
esa
is
alma,
not
siempre
much
permanecerán
difference
como
to go
luz,
from
como
being
energía.
soul of the man to dimension of physicality to become the light. As I said many years ago, I am the light. Because this is how we see the expansion of the
Como les he
creation
dicho
and
hace
the
años,
dominion of the creator. In
se
so many
convertirán
ways,
en luz.
we become part of
Son luz,
the totality.
son
In
parte
so
de
many
la
ways,
totalidad.
mankind has two choices. Which way would you
El
like
ser
to see?
humano tiene dos
From my
cosas
point
de
of
que
view,
elegir.
or your point of view? Would you like to sit in the dimension of physicality, or do you
Podrán
want to
quedarse
sit
como
in the
físicos
dimension of the soul? And this is what
o como la
many of
dimensión
you start running into
del
problem.
alma,
Where do you want to be?
o trabajar con
And
esta relación
how
entre
do
un
you want to be seen in the dimension of creation? Even the books have a problem in trying to find out what
hasta los
they
libros
are.
están teniendo problemas. Imagínense los problemas que ustedes podrán tener logrando esta transmutación, este cambio.
Where do we go? And
¿Dónde
how
vamos? ¿Dónde está
do
nuestro
we teach you
futuro?
to be
Tratemos
able
de
to
comprender esto.
transmute in all three dimensions?
Transmutar,
And
transmutarnos
how do you
nosotros
assess this? As I said,
de una
many of you
dimensión a otra.
foolish will have a thing, a barrier to move forward. And that is, I believe it when I see my soul. I accept it when I see my soul. Stay in
Podré
the
creer en
in
esto
the
cuando
doorway
vea
of the
mi
Father's,
alma o podré aceptar
and one day,
estos conocimientos y
when
poder
this
trabajar con
soul,
ellos.
as your conduct has decided its position and the place. As we've seen in the interaction with the field of its environment. Many of you will break through the light. And in that process, breaking through the light, you'll come to understand one reality, that we all end up in one dominion or the other, in the interaction of the field,
Comprenderán que cada uno de nosotros
which will
podrá
dictate our manifestation,
transmutarse de una forma u
will
otra.
dictate our possession and our position. We possess none except the fields which we have interacted, and we will create the condition of the position when the balanced fields of the soul in respect to its environment takes hold. In a way, your physical manifestation of present time is due to the interaction of the fields of the soul with the interaction of the field of the environment of the earth. When you don't carry the physicality, where is the dominion and the transmutation of the soul of the man? Where would you end up? In what condition, even on earth, would you be able to manifest yourself?
Si no aprenden a transmutar vuestra alma
In the coming time,
en su entorno,
and through
¿dónde irán a parar?
an interaction
Deben lograr este
and
dominio,
understanding
dominar
of
esta
the
forma.
process of the creation with the tools which will be provided for you to be able to see this without the loss of this. But that
Es
process
importante que
will be
puedan
very difficult for many
lograr
of
esta
you
transmutación
that
sin
you
la
will
pérdida de
deny
vuestra
your
alma.
own existence. Because how can you be aware of the physical existence when your soul is not within the structure of the physicality of the body?
¿Cómo pueden lograr
In so many ways, goes back to what I
esta
said
relación con
earlier.
el físico sin perder esa
As
relación
we
con vuestra
understand this
alma?
process fully, you give me a skull of a man, I will create that man for you.
Por eso siempre les he dicho, denme
Maybe that
el
will
cráneo de una persona y podré reconstruir
as the strength of the field
su físico y su
of the
entorno.
soul of the man. In respect to his behavior and dimension to live, will create that skull, that physicality. Once you give me the skull, I have the cage to imprison the soul.
Cuando me dan ese cráneo,
Then
esa calavera,
mankind
puedo
will understand
recrear
how
todo el
the
entorno
whole structure of the creation in the universe has taken different shape and
del
dimension.
cuerpo, del entorno.
The best
de esa
place to
persona.
start with is to be the light. Because then you can choose each dimension. The light means
Entonces lo importante es que sean esa luz
nothing else.
para que puedan
The
elegir
light, it means to be the plasma of the
manifestarse
fields of
como alma o
creation
como cuerpo
that
físico.
in interaction with this environment leads to creation of the physicality or creation of the soul.
Esa interrelación con el
This is
entorno
where
podrán
theology
lograr ese
and the world
dominio,
of science,
la comunicación,
for those of you who understand
la
this process,
transmutación de alma a cuerpo
will
físico.
have a feel will be the most beautiful time where, especially with your children, in the dimension of the soul, you shall never see the physicality, but you confirm their existence through the interaction of their fields and the emotion they create as light within you. In
Esta
some
relación la
ways,
pueden lograr con criaturas pequeñas,
you can make what
como
we call the
trabajando con ellos,
in any shape or dimension and dominion as your soul fits to be happy to be in that dimension and direction. Mankind is going through a transition of knowledge exchange. Mankind is going through a
el ser
condition
humano está
in understanding the two
atravesando un
sides of
momento
the
de cambio
creation
de todo
and the
este
physicality.
conocimiento.
In so many ways, as mankind has been so physical, mankind has problems in comprehending the totality. Many
El ser
of
humano ha tenido muchos problemas para comprender
deny your creator.
conocimiento de la
Because
fisicalidad
this
y de
way
su
you justify
estado de
your
conciencia y de su alma.
And many of you will take the path to the Creator, and by the beauty of what is to create by itself through your soul, you'll come to accept the totality of the existence and the creation and the Creator.
Muchos de ustedes podrán comprender esto y lograr esa comprensión del Creador y su creación.
It's you who paints the picture. We make
Básicamente son ustedes los que
the beauty of the creation.
arman esta
It's you who has to enjoy the
imagen,
beauty
esta
of
fotografía.
His created. in so many ways, in the condition as you saw in that pool, as the water flow changed, the soul changed, but in essence it's the same soul.
En
We
ese
will
video
create
han
the
podido
conditions
ver
for
cómo
you to see
fluir del
yourself in
agua
different dimensions of
al agujero
physicality,
negro
but within one environment.
cambia, transmuta,
As I said,
se
I will
desplaza,
show you one drop
crece.
in one water tank. And that drop
Todo en el
the fish
vórtice
or the man. But
de un movimiento del agua.
determining what will be the environment of that water. Don't forget, the man floats in the womb of the mother in the water from the beginning.
No se
Will
olviden
be
que el ser
able to
humano
show
en el útero de su madre fluye del agua
that tank in a
y
dimension
crea su
where
cuerpo
in the womb of the
físico.
mother. And then you take shape in the way
Y después toma su forma.
In so many ways, in the future time, mankind will be able to take his soul in that fish tank. And depending on the temperature and the field forces, not the tank filled with water, but the tank filled with different field strength, the pool of the field.
En el futuro el ser humano,
Then you will see
tomando
how
conciencia de esa alma, que
interaction
pueda
with the
elegir
environment
el
will
entorno de
manifest
acuerdo a la
itself in
temperatura o
the
lo que sea,
in a way we can create
y manifestarse de la forma que él quiera.
what we call magnetic and plasmatic fields of the Mars, and you will see how you will manifest yourself on Mars. And then when you go to Mars, are we looking for a
Podrán ir a
man
Marte,
or
corporizarse
find
o
out
manifestarse
that
como deseen
Mars
sobre
is in
Marte.
the shape that we become witness to it. In so many ways, mankind will have a fingerprint of its own soul, but in essence, different fingers, and in so many ways,
El ser humano tendrá
fingers that the finger
una
of
impresión
Jesus
digital de su alma, pero podrá manifestarse de la forma que
Today's
desee.
teaching and the teachings to come works in that direction, as we said many times in the recent
Las enseñanzas de hoy y de los que vendrán
is awareness
van en
of
ese
the
rumbo.
creation and awareness of the created and awareness
Estar consciente de la creación, de cómo funciona la creación.
the essence of the create, what we call existence of the man on this planet and beyond.
Cómo se manifiesta en su existencia, en su relación con el entorno.
We can create as many different versions of the environment.
Podemos crear
If the soul of the man is not mature,
todo lo que
it touches
deseamos.
itself for a dimension of physicality, but knowing that the physicality exists within him, there's no use. As I said, when you go into the enhancement unit, we outside will see the light, but you inside, you're totally unaware. As the soul of the man bypasses and overtakes the physicality of man in the dimension of totality. One interesting point, as I said in one of the teachings, the man in the dimension of physicality creates a shadow of itself in respect to the field of environment. As we saw in that pool,
El hombre, el alma del hombre, crea su entorno y su camino de vida.
The question to ask is very simple. Was that black hole, that vortex of the interaction of the lights in that pool, was the vortex aware of its own manifestation?
La gran pregunta es, en ese video, el agujero negro, el alma, era consciente de su entorno, de cómo le da forma a ese entorno, cómo interrelaciona con esto.
By the flow of the waters. These waters are not all the same temperature. They're coming from
O
different
el
directions,
fluir del
different
agua
positions, and different
modifica
areas into the
el alma. ¿Cómo
But
trabaja
there is
uno
a
con el
reality
otro?
which you have ignored and you were not aware of. Look at the same video again. You will see that the hole, the suction hole, is somewhere here. And the shadow and the black hole here. Depending on the light of the sun which shines on it, depending
Miren
on
el
the
video de
field of the
nuevo
water
y
to the pool,
fíjense
you see
cómo
how this black
la
hole
imagen del
moves
agujero
closer or
negro,
away or in different dimensions to the pool.
cómo
to the center.
interrelaciona con el entorno, cómo de acuerdo a la luz
Is
se
that
va
such a point,
modificando.
the point of creator, where we all get sucked into and
Y el punto
manifest
del
in different shape
creador,
or
que es
form
lo que
in the
origina ese
cycle of
agujero negro,
what we
cómo
call
se relaciona uno
black
con el
hole
otro.
in the environment of the pool. This pool we saw is a closed circuit. It's like the universe sucks in the same water, pulls it out in two different systems or three different systems.
Como el
It
alma,
back itself into
que es
it.
una
It's a
sola,
replication of the creation.
hace fluir el agua
We
hacia
make
ella,
an intention,
la
but the
toma,
physicality doesn't
la absorbe
exist
y la
as the
expulsa por
interaction
el
of the
otro
fields
lado.
has made that shadow. With the interaction of the fields of the creator, which is the sun shining. But in reality, it's a mirage. We cannot go and touch it. We cannot pick it out of the water.
Es como nuestra
But we see
relación
its
con el
limitation,
sol.
application, and its shadow
Vemos el sol,
on the
pero
surface of
no lo podemos tocar. Nos relacionamos
to
con él,
a
tomamos su
physicist who
energía
will look at
y
things like
devolvemos
this.
parte de esta energía.
This confirms
La
the
relación
totality of
nuestra
knowledge
con
of
el sol
creation in the
es
dimension of physicality.
un mirage,
In
una
so many
imagen
ways, when you see
de relación
what
de uno con el
takes
otro.
in and you see you are made, you look like existing, but you are nothing but a mirage. The physicality of the man is nothing but a mirage. It's us
La
who
imagen
decide in which
El
shape
físico del
and
hombre es
how we
nada más
manifest
que una
this mirage
imagen,
to be
un
tangible
mirage.
like others or physically visible by us. In so many ways, mankind needs to learn. Mankind needs to understand that its creation is the same as that vortex, the same black hole. You
El
saw
hombre
how
debe
many bits
comprender
came
que
and then suddenly made it. Those little birds are the sperms and
su
the
alma
egg
es igual que
in
ese
the process of
vórtice
the womb of the
negro,
mother,
ese agujero
and
negro.
suddenly it creates that soul, and that soul takes shape, and that soul in
Cómo se
interaction with
corporiza
the
esa alma
light of the
en
beauty
el
of
cuerpo
the creator
físico
shows itself. But in
y se
reality,
interrelacione con todo el
and
entorno
this
de
is
campo de
us, this is
fuerza.
our soul. This is what we fight for, which we're not worth fighting for. In so many ways, has man matured to understand this? And let more of
El
it,
hombre ha
you see,
madurado para
suddenly the
poder
black hole
comprender esto.
disappears, and then it goes through the water, through the hole, and it comes back and manifests a new soul. But it's the same fields, it's the same strength fields, it's the same pump, it's the
Los
same
campos de
pipes,
energía son
it's
los
the same
mismos.
structure.
Todo depende de la relación entre el agujero negro y esos
Then
campos de energía.
mankind would
Cómo la
understand.
toman,
Mankind understands the totality of the creation.
la
from the
absorben
creator
y
to what it
devuelven.
pulled out,
Cómo
what
se
it made,
interrelaciona esa
and
energía
what
con
the
el alma,
interaction of
con
different
el
fields
agujero
is, the
negro.
creation of the man, the moon, the Mars, the galaxies, and universes is all due to the pool of the fields, which we call the creator.
Todos los planetas en el que vemos en el universo, todos tienen su relación con los campos de energía del universo, del creador.
Our manifestation of our formation of existence. And in so many ways, mankind has to become very, very much aware that he is nothing but a bunch of fields. And once the environment changes, the confirmation of his existence is very dodgy. It's very fragile. it's very much exists as long as the earth exists, as long as the fields of the sun reaches the earth and can manifest my existence and conformation.
Toda esta manifestación del ser humano depende de la existencia de este entorno, de las distintas manifestaciones en nuestro entorno. Depende de los campos de energía, de estas manifestaciones de los campos.
All fields come from the center. And it's all that mixing pot. How close do you want to be to that point?
Comprendan cómo todo depende de ese centro, cómo se relaciona con las energías.
Because it's what it adds to the fields which will make me in the time to come. And in so many ways, the time has come that we understand the totality of the creation.
Ha llegado el momento para que comprendamos esta totalidad.
Existence through manifestation of physicality, or do we accept that the soul of the man exists and it manifests itself wherever in the dominion of the Creator decides to manifest itself? Confirm its existence. As I said, many of you, most majority of you, will deny the teacher because your excuse is very weak. I cannot see anything, so I don't believe it. Ask you, answer you one thing. You see your own physicality, then it exists. It's you who's denying its own existence, your own existence. This way, we do what we like and we preach the lies. This is what I always say, ask for what you need, and if you are given, is your right. Because it's the way the souls work, it's the way the fields of the interaction of the creation does and manifests itself by being given and being received. Those of you who sit back and wait for the day when I see it, I believe it, no problem. You'll never see as you apply to confirmation of your own existence in the physical dimension. And in so many ways, mankind needs to move on. For those who have become intellectually mature in the dimension of physicality, that they can lead, they can bring the souls.
El ser humano, la humanidad, va a tener que seguir los pasos de los que están comprendiendo esta enseñanza.
A few words, but a lot of meaning. A few minutes of teaching, but the cycle of the creation of billions of years to understand. In so many ways,
Los pocos minutos de esta enseñanza, con esto ustedes deben lograr comprender toda la creación, cómo funciona ella.
In the coming time, many of you, through the teachings and understanding of the path, to find your way into the universal dominion without the use of physicality or what you call a spaceship.
En el futuro muchos de ustedes comprenderán esto y pueden lograr estos cambios.
Because it has opened a path for you to the line of the Creator. In so many ways, we tend to ignore due to the lack of understanding.
Muchas veces ignoramos o tendemos a negar ciertas cosas porque no comprendemos todo esto.
And we try to understand what is actually very easy to comprehend, because we have made it difficult for ourselves. We have made it impossible for
Debemos
ourselves
tratar de comprender todo esto.
to live and to exist
Es muy
In so many
sencillo,
ways,
pero tenemos que poner
as
nuestro
said,
esfuerzo para
I
comprender todo
made
esto.
man in the image of myself. Can I have the facility to be able to share a screen, please? In so many ways, mankind needs to evolve step further. Mankind needs to
La
understand
humanidad
this process of
debe
creation.
dar un paso al frente,
Mankind needs to understand
seguir esta
itself
comprensión,
in two
comprender
essence
todo
of the
esto,
fields of
aprender.
perfection of the fields of in so many ways, mankind needs to understand one thing.
El ser humano debe
Do I want to
comprender
be the
una cosa.
creator or created?
¿Estamos con el creador o estamos aquí?
Or through the creation, I become the creator.
O lograr
In
esta
confirmation of the
conexión con el
existence of the soul
creador
of
y
the
esta
creator,
relación.
I confirm my own existence. And
Y
what is
confirmar mi
happening
propia
around
existencia.
is confirmation of my physicality, depending on where and how I be in respect to the environment of the totality of the
Comprender
creation.
de que de acuerdo a nuestro entorno podamos manifestarnos.
Maybe now you understand, even in the womb of the mother, why we need to
Comprendamos como en el vientre de nuestra madre también podemos lograr esto.
that the interaction of the two in leading to creation of one leads to the manifestation of physicality in the environment of the, what we call the womb. Or the
Cómo
womb.
nuestro cuerpo se manifiesta en el
Even
entorno,
the earth
aunque sea en
has a
el
twin,
útero de nuestra
the
madre.
sun has a twin, and in that process, within the environment of the fields of the womb of the mother, or this planet or this universe, we confirm our existence. Do we need to confirm our existence in the dimension of physicality or in the dimension of the soul?
Debemos manifestarnos
there
de
is
la
a lot of
forma
work
del
going on in the
físico
background.
o de nuestra alma.
The systems which are getting developed will allow us to create and control this environment.
Con estas enseñanzas podremos lograr
I wonder
controlar esta
what will
relación
manifest
con el
yourself
físico, nuestra alma.
as we change this environment within the system.
A medida que cambiamos
Would you
este
go from the
entorno,
transition of the
el
soul
medio
of
ambiente.
physicality to the soul of the man and become aware of the light? Or would you go from the other way around and you see the light?
Cómo a través de la luz nos manifestamos en forma de alma
In that process,
o de
would
cuerpo
you be able to
físico,
confirm your existence as you
para
have moved
confirmar
from
nuestra
one to another,
existencia.
and you become what we call aware of your own existence. In a way, as I said in one of the teachings, is the apple which calls you to eat me and you think I eat it because I need it. But in reality, is the soul which brings you to the point that you manifest yourself and live the life. Ask yourself why I'm in this position and in this place, as why my soul has brought me to this point. That what is the purpose of my life and what is the objective of reaching
Cada
this
uno
point
debe
of creation.
preguntarse, ¿por qué mi alma ha
In so many
elegido
ways,
manifestarse de esta forma?
mankind needs to
¿Para qué ha
become
venido
a
a hacer
little bit
esto?
more aware of his own existence. Mankind needs to
Cada uno de
become
ustedes
very
deberá
much aware of understanding of the totality.
estar más consciente
How
de
do
todo
we
esto,
join
de esta
in
relación.
when we cannot understand what is the playground? How can we enjoy when we don't see we are going to be as part? We got to be aware of the totality. We got to be aware of what we want.
Tenemos que estar conscientes
In
de
so many
toda la
ways,
realidad para poder
where is our
elegir
destiny? And what is
dónde
our
nos manifestamos y
and
cómo nos
why
manifestamos.
are we born in this time, this place,
¿Por
this
qué hemos
position,
elegido
to serve,
nacer en ese momento?
to bring what into the dimension of the creation?
Para aportar cada
In so
uno de
many ways,
nosotros
mankind
en
needs
este momento.
to become kind to himself. Mankind needs to understand what kind of a man he wants to manifest himself in the dimension.
El ser humano debe
And then understand the purpose of the life.
aprender y
Understand the
comprender
purpose of why we are
cómo
here at this position and time. And
querrá
what have we
manifestarse en el
added
futuro.
and what is our purpose to add to in what is to come. Dimension of physicality is totally irrelevant. That's the dimension of the soul.
La
which is the
manifestación
dimension
de
of
la
the
parte
field fields,
física
which in
es
interaction with
irrelevante,
the field of
es
the
solo
color
un medio.
leads to manifestation of your physicality. As every soul has different strength and combination, it creates an interaction with the field of the earth, which is self-dynamic and changing.
Cada una de nuestras
en
almas
human,
se interrelaciona
en
con los campos de
according
energía
to
de
the
la
fields.
Tierra y se
The
manifiesta
soul of an ant in interaction with the
en
field of the
distintas
earth
formas.
creates that ant. Because the size, the position, and the purpose fits the total soul of the existence of the totality of all the souls within this planet. And the soul of the man, which is created within the womb of the mother, decides in interaction with all the field forces which created the soul of the mother and the father to lead to manifestation of the what we call the field of the soul that leads to the interaction in the womb of the mother, the field of the physicality.
Nuestra alma eligió corporizarse en el útero de nuestra madre, tomar características de nuestros padres,
We take a brush
manifestarse,
and we mix it in different
crear nuestro cuerpo
colors and
para
paints,
interrelacionarse con los
canvas,
campos de
and we
energía del
create
entorno de
picture.
la Tierra.
In the coming time, we'll show you that we can do the same with the fields and lead to creation of whatever we need on the canvas of the life of the universe. In so many ways, mankind, with the gain of the new knowledge, should be able to draw the environment that that canvas needs to be shown and to be seen. In time to come, we will change a lot of things.
En el futuro mostraremos cómo esta alma podrá crear el entorno, lograr
the interaction of the field forces of the universe,
sin el útero de la madre, lograr
man,
crear todo este
manifestation,
entorno
point of manifestation.
y todo lo que necesita para
In time to come,
manifestarse.
and in the teachings to come, I'll explain this in more detail. I'll bring you
En el
to
futuro les
see
explicaré
the
esto en mayor
base
detalle.
strength of the soul of yourself, which means we give the dimension of physicality, the what we call the knowledge, the know-how, and the strength of the soul. I wonder how many of you will
Podremos
create
aportar
this
este conocimiento para que el
interaction with
alma
your own soul
pueda comprender todo esto.
and would there be a dimension of physicality for you to exist? You have to understand you cannot prejudice. You cannot be prejudiced at all. If you mix a dough with a given measure, with a certain amount of flour and the exact amount of the butter and the salt and the sugar, you always more or less consistently get the same. So this time the dough is the field of existence of your existence. And we give you the dough. We give you all the ingredients. Would you dare to mix it to see your soul? And then would you be able to see it?
Nosotros
as you
estamos
become
aportando
part
los
of it?
conocimientos
You bring your own self
para
into the
poder
dimension of knowledge.
lograr hacer esta torta
In
con
so
los
many ways,
materiales que le damos, la harina y todos los componentes para hacer esto, lograrán comprender y hacer todo esto.
As it flew in and it came back out, it creates a different mirage of the physicality. Many of you will have problem with this. Many of you will commit suicide in the dimension of the soul, as you will not accept in the dimension of physicality. When we call it a suicide, is not take life, is in the way not to accept the condition of the field forces, which leads to your creation dimension of physicality. Maybe today's teaching is too deep for many of you to understand. Maybe today's teaching opens many of you, your eyes or your intellect to understand the process of the creation. Maybe this is what we call to introduce to you the new way of teaching. Not with the machines, but how you control the strength of the field of your physicality, in the soul of physicality, to allow the soul of the man to extend beyond, to become that proton, and what it was, electron covering proton. In a way, when we look at the nuclear physics and we see that bright spot rotating around the proton, if we increase its speed, if we increase its agility in conformation of interaction with the field of the center of proton, it will become so fast that it creates a light around the proton, even the proton is inside. And that light, in the dimension of we accepting it, becomes us in the physical dimension. This is what it is. And this is how the physicality takes over and hides the soul of the man within it. We create too many souls. We create too many miniature souls. We call it the cells that in their souls blind us to see the proton inside. We camouflage because we interact with the fields of this planet, and in a way we collaborate to hide the soul in the dimension of the physicality. Because if you look at the structure of the body of the man, it's a collection of the fields, collection of souls, that these souls are so densely packed that they have managed to hide the soul of the man itself within it, which is more powerful. Go back to the teaching of last week, where I said, in a very simple way, where I drew the, what I call...
Vuelvan a las enseñanzas de la semana pasada,
electron
de la
and a
relación
proton.
de el alma con su
If you
entorno.
remember, in the cluster of cells, and I explained the position of the electron, and I said the furthest is connected to the center, the one which is more in the center. Now you understand maybe how your physicality has taken these neutrons, these cell centers, to cover the totality of the soul of them. As we have created so many of them around the soul itself, that it has covered the man in the dimension of physicality. But in essence, the soul of the man, the creator, is within the center. We have, in a way, colluded with the field forces of the environment to create and manifest many, many little things to blind ourselves to the dimension of his existence in the center of the body. And how can we reverse the position
Como el alma
that in one
crea
interaction,
que
in
todo
one
su
process,
entorno,
the soul of the
con la
man
fuerza de
can
energía del
expand
alrededor.
beyond boundary and cover the soul of the man, the physicality of the man, and in that process still exists. But the biggest question is, would it have this shape within the soul of the man? Or we become one waiting for to be manifested in the future of time and space. This is part of what many of you will have a dilemma with. And in that process, you will understand the totality. What would be the future of mankind? What would be the future of the soul of mankind? Would we create children from the soul than the physicality and allow them to take dimension and love them the same? We know the process. It's for the man to accept. It's for the man to understand the dimension of physicality is not necessarily non-existence of the soul. If you understand this, maybe ask one more question. And that is, have we become so ignorant and so arrogant that one to see the soul of the Creator that confirms the existence of us? And are we humble enough to become that direct one? Then by creation of totality of the fields, we become those cells which we have covered the soul of the Creator within. And that's what exists within us, within the center of our existence. As I said, as a nuclear physicist and a man who's been in the depth of the knowledge of the creation, life becomes very simple. Life becomes very understanding. But as I said, we have time, we have to pass in the dimension of physicality. And in so many ways, this change of the clothes in a coming time will be change of the strength of the cells of the man, that man needs no physical clothes. And then would dictate the dimension of manifestation. And then would we all shine like the lights. And this is how it will come to be, and mankind will become so mature to this point. I hope that we all understand this position. And sooner or later, we stop asking the question, when I see something, when I see my soul, I believe it. This is the Western behavior that I can fool you as long as you cannot see what you believe in. And this has to, in a way, ask yourself one question. Why my soul has brought me to this point? And what is the purpose of my life? To deliver, to be the provider, to be the one who sustains the environment of the fields of the universe for it to exist. In any case, mankind has a lot of work to do. A lot of understanding. And a lot of what we call soul searching. But remember one thing. Goes back to the beginning of the teaching of today in many ways. You have to be able to control the strength of the field of the soul of physicality through the dimension of operation of its physical dimension to be able to manifest the soul of a man or become aware to see the light of its existence. In so many ways, you don't need to go to a trance, but in so many ways, you need to understand the strength of the field of your own creation. I wonder how many of you have understood the teachings of today, and how many of you will change the course of your life because you understood the truth. Which way do you want to take it? From the plasma, soul of the Creator, to the soul of physicality, in the dimension of the soul of the Creator, to the dimension of the soul of physicality. And what kind of life would you create in both dimensions? Would it be like the blood of man, which one goes out is brighter, and one which is consumed and then you come back as slightly dark? Is that the behavior of the conversion of the fields into the dimension of physicality in the world of the creation for the man too? Which way will shine lighter and brighter? And what would we do with that as it gives light to the others in the dimension of physicality? Today's teaching is very heavy, if you understand, and it's very light, if you understand. But in time, many officers of this planet and beyond will understand today's teaching, and it become a path for them to find a solution and salvation for the operation of their souls in the dimension of creation. We go to a break and we come back. And I hope the questions we get is more mature in the dimension of the soul of man, not about the ganses and the friend of doctor. It's time to enjoy, and it's time to extend the knowledge beyond the dimension of physicality. And this is what the purpose of the teachings is.
Ahí estoy un montón de... Lo que pasa, a mí me está faltando todas las últimas 3 clases que yo no he podido comprender. Entonces, llega un punto que mucho de lo que está explicando está basado en lo que ya se ha escuchado. Inclusive tenés gente acá que está preguntando sobre cosas de jardín de infantes. Llega un punto que uno dice, ¿a qué estamos jugando? Uno no va a la universidad a aprender sin haber pasado por jardín de infante, primaria y secundaria. Vayamos a las cosas originales.
De todas formas, lo que puedas hacer, pues lo haces. Gracias.
Yo todavía me tengo que poner al día con las últimas 3 clases para poder manifestar estos conceptos. Llega un punto que me pierdo. Creo que las imágenes ayudarán mucho, cómo él interrelaciona los distintos libros. Increíble cómo tiene previsto aportar todas estas enseñanzas en base a todo lo que ha hecho en los últimos 15, 20 o 40 años. Pero tenemos que volver a clases anteriores y repasar conceptos, cada uno de nosotros. No podemos construir el techo de una casa si no empezamos con la base y las paredes. Y esto lo podemos aplicar a cada uno de nosotros. Nuestros conceptos y la comprensión de cada cosa está basada en toda la estructura anterior. Si no tenemos una base sólida, no camina. Sección preguntas.
Welcome back to the second part of the day.
Voy a permitir a que la gente pueda levantar su mano.
Are there any questions, Rick? Do you see any virtual hand or anybody shaking their head?
Let me allow people to raise their hands here. Okay, I see that's been allowed. So, yeah, I'll make the usual announcement that people can raise their virtual hands here in the Zoom attendees list. So if you'd like to do that, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and we can allow you to speak. And can you hear me okay, Mr. Kesh?
Yep. Loud and clear.
Okay, just a second. We've got a couple of hands up here now. So let's go ahead with Ed first. Then we have Brett after that.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Kesh, the question I've had during your teaching today that keeps coming to my mind is, in our existence at the soul level, is our confirmation of existence at the emotional level? Is that our experience?
Could be partial. But in a way, emotion is the where we get the confirmation of the interaction between the solar physicality and the solar. But the question for many of us will rise is that, do I feel this emotion with the solar physicality or through the interaction of the solar physicality with soul of man? Or do I feel this emotion within the solar? Because, as I said, I made man in the image of myself. So there is an emotion inside the soul of man that manifests itself in the physicality of man too. But we have to become aware of which one.
So is this
Which emotion? And as I said in the teachings before, we introduced you many new emotions that in the dimension of physicality doesn't exist. In the dimension of physicality, it's impossible to exist because the field of strength doesn't exist in that level in the matter. Even though we are in a gas state within, in a way, you can explain it in a simple way, which is, this is the soul of man. This is the physicality. And this is the
Es el alma del hombre, que es la fisicalidad. Ya lo perdí.
Is the dimension of physicality a transition time, where this is the source and this is the matter state. And then it comes to understand in which strength does the man interact, and at which point the physicality manifests itself. And this will be a part of the answer we have to have if we become the traveler of space. Because this environment dictates the position of the soul in the matter state and the time of the transition from the soul to physicality. Then maybe we have to ask, is the emotion is here or in this? Because we feel the emotion of the soul in a different way. It's instantaneous, does not wait. It responds immediately, and you become aware of it.
Es la
And
relación
in so many ways,
del alma con la
the closer
materia,
you become
Alejandra.
to the soul, the more
Tiene que tener la base, lo expliqué antes. Si no has visto Jardín de Infantes, no comprenderás lo que es primaria, secundaria y estamos a nivel terciario superior en este momento. Es la relación del alma con el entorno y la materia.
May I continue just a bit?
Yep.
So in a way,
Yo me he perdido porque
comes to
traduciendo tengo que
a
traducir
new
conceptos, no puedo traducir
emotion that you're
literalmente.
speaking of, or something we may
Para
have
colmo, las últimas 3 clases las
experienced,
perdí por traducir y porque mi equipamiento no anduvo.
it's going to come down to our trust or acceptance of these new experiences that we have.
Y hoy estoy perdiendo esta clase. Me voy a tener que aprovechar estas vacaciones para poder reescuchar un montón de material.
Most probably, yes. And possibly, maybe. And in the dimension of physicality, the emotions, and the strength of the emotion is very much different than the emotion and the strength of the soul of man. In time,
Es muy diferente las emociones que tienen que ver con la relación del cuerpo humano con el sentir del alma. El alma tiene su vida propia y su relación con el cuerpo humano son los sentimientos, las emociones.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cash. If we could hear from Brett next.
Mr. Cash, how are you, my friend?
well, it's nice to see you still alive.
Yes. I did an experiment a wee whiles back, and I manifested little sparkles in between a funnel. And when I took my balls away, it manifested into an actual thing. So you could see the funnel, you could see the sparks running within it. But when I took my empty balls away, it manifested into carbon or some sort of carbon. It's not attracted to a magnet. Isn't this what...
Esto está relacionado con unos experimentos que tuvo. Por la forma de hablar, este muchacho es australiano. Estuvo experimentando con embudos. Calculo que serán vórtices, donde ha logrado chispas y manifestaciones de aparentemente carbón.
So you got all the pages to
Yes, I got a lot of places to go. I do. And this is the beauty of it. But my question is, when you see all the little sparkles going up through the funnel, when is a good time to tap into it? When you see the sparkles before, or after you take your empty balls away from... Now I'm only talking about a 2-cup, but the manifestation of the carbon came up in a funnel form. So
I don't understand exactly what you're talking about, unless you can show us some pictures.
Rick has a picture of it.
Hasta el señor Cash no entiende bien la pregunta de él.
If he can bring that forward, otherwise I can send it to him again. But one has to understand that when I took away the 3 carriers, it manifested, boom, it was like a carbon lattice.
If you create energies or fields in motion, and you can bring them to the point that in respect to the environment, they can interact and release or become in unison partially with the environmental field forces, you lead to creation of matter. So the sparks you speak about, if it is there, and then it becomes like a carbon or whatever, this means that you have managed to transfer energy fields in interaction with the environment to the matter state. This is partially what we do in
Él, mediante los vórtices y esos destellos de luz, estas chispas en los vórtices, ha logrado transmutar energía del medio ambiente a carbono, se ha manifestado en forma de materia.
Developed is in the lab, is that if you go to, let's say, moon, and you want to produce gold, but you don't have the, what we call the strength field or whatever it is, or you lost the information somewhere, we can transmit for you from Earth to moon that in interaction with our fields transferred to you instantaneously, we can produce that material. Because we can create that condition. It's the line of interaction and communication. But would the gold, which you have yellow here, in the open atmosphere of the moon, will be still the yellow you know? Or will you have a different color? And so, in converting energy into matter is something which gradually many of you will do. And
Muchos de ustedes lograrán convertir energía en materia. Y yo agrego, es lo que se ha logrado con este aparato que materializa, que es igual que la unidad de salud, pero con el sol interno. Uno lo programa para lograr 1 tonelada del material que uno quiera dentro de esa unidad. Logra desde la energía, del campo de energía, logra materializar materia.
On moon is very much different than on Earth because it's not there as such, the atmospheric condition. So putting a brick or putting an aluminum framework where constantly absorbs high level of cosmic rays is no good. Do we need to come up with a composite new materials, new dimensions to be able to exist in the new conditions? These are all part of what we experience and we know. And we have shown this unknowingly, but knowingly past year. I have spoken about it, and is partially we can even within the structure release plasmatic fields that within the ear of the man becomes noise, sound, and everything else, and nobody else can hear it. Now the technological achievement is that far. Does not matter how deep you're in Earth or you're hiding in mind. So you can produce. Anyone gradually, that's why we're teaching, it's not just we are here, only one can do it. You knowledge seekers, as you experiment more, you develop more knowledge and know-how, you should all be doing. This is not a one-man show. This is all-man show.
A medida que vayan comprendiendo todo lo que se les enseña, podrán cada uno de ustedes lograr, mediante campo de energía, corporizar cualquier materia o material. Pero deberán experimentar, jugar con las relaciones, el medio ambiente, los campos de energía.
That show sparks or whatever. Do you want me to show those, or are we done with that topic?
We're done with it.
Okay. Let's move along here. I've got get back to my participants list here. Okay, we do have some questions in the Q&A that we should deal with. There's a question regarding salt, the proportions of salt and water in reactors. From Tulia via Liliana. So it's about the amount of salt in the reactors to produce GANs influences the power of the fields. What is the reason for the different proportions of salt and water in the reactors for the Life Cup and the zinc, copper, and iron GANs reactors? There is information with different proportions. What is the reason? So the basic question is, what is the role of the salt to water ratio in the reactors to produce GANs?
The salt is the balancer, is what dictates the environment allows to be created in the water.
Está hablando de la relación de concentraciones de sal en los reactores. Esto genera los campos de energía donde se crean las distintas cosas. La salinidad, sí, influencia. Y él básicamente siempre dice, hay que experimentar. Hagan una copa con 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%, 15%. Si no experimentan, no van a aprender. Él no quiere monoscopiones.
Any kind of salt. These salts here are not in a matter state anymore. They are
Las sales no están en el estado de materia.
Of nanomaterial. So the behavior is that the salt is creating gravitational field centers that in the interaction with the balance of the fields of the two plates leads to creation of manifestation of the new fields you call the gases.
La concentración y con la interacción de los campos entre las dos chapas o lo que tengamos de ahí dentro del reactor va a crear distintos efectos en los campos y producirá los distintos gases.
Not in a magnetic field condition. They are in a normal condition, they're in a magnetic field condition, because, as I said, when you look at the structure, you put, but in fact, what you have is this combination of the fields, the balance of it, because the Cl here interacts with the hydrogen and the water and creates acidic condition. It's not all pure alkaline or creation of gravity. And when the field balances between all this is left is what you get, the CO2, which to itself comes from the interaction of the field of the water.
Está hablando de la relación entre el cloro, el hidrógeno, que genera un ácido. No es todo alcalino. Y así es como los campos toman el carbono del aire, lo mezcla con el oxígeno y logra el dióxido de carbono.
Don't understand and they look at it, it is alkaline, yes. We create an alkaline condition. But because you're
Estamos creando un medio alcalino, pero es una relación entre ácido y álcali. Yo agrego, lo mismo ocurre en vuestro corazón. Vuestro corazón no late por el impulso eléctrico, late por la diferencia entre alcalino y acidez en la sangre. Ese latido es un batido entre uno y el otro.
This is how it breaks and sustains itself. But we don't look at it in a matter state, look at the gravitational field strength on top of each other. Super important.
Hay que mirarlo en los campos de energía. Hay relación entre la gravitación y el magnetismo. Campo gravitacional y el campo magnético. En la espiral, cómo se relaciona en cada material esos campos.
And bind to release the fields of the oxygen, which all are in a plasmatic condition.
Y todo esto en un estado de plasma.
The amount of salt percentage all dictates what will be available in this zone. You don't look at it in a matter state. You look at it as
No debemos mirar la salinidad en estado de materia, sino el campo de plasma que está creando para lograr esa relación magnético-gravitacional.
Plate has changed the new environment, you're in a new condition, you're in a new plasmatic field.
Esa placa con nanorecubrimiento ha logrado cambiar todo el entorno para generar esa relación entre el magnetismo y la gravitación.
One Cup, One Life as part of, it was an emergency situation in order to make the process happen faster or produce more GANs in a faster way for that particular situation. Is that correct in that normally you'd use maybe a little less salt percentage?
Yes, yes, we do. Depends what current you put through, depends what field strength you put through.
Cuando genera la colpa, se ha aumentado la salinidad para acelerar el proceso del efecto curativo. Pero todo esto depende si están usando corriente eléctrica, que han variado la salinidad. Si la salinidad también ya ha generado, ustedes habrán notado en copas que tienen hace meses, cómo incrementa la sal. Que se manifiesta en la parte de arriba de la copa.
Middle of the field somewhere or in the middle of desert, you have a problem creating CO2 as much. The salts will then dictate how much you can change it to speed up the creation of the field. You play with the salt and the salinity to dictate the speed of the production in respect to the availability of the material in the environment. This is what your heart does, this is what your body does, this is how you...
Acá manifestando lo que hace tu corazón, justamente. Como la relación entre magnetismo y gravitación, alcalinidad y gravitación, la alcalinidad y la acidez modifican y hacen que el corazón lata.
This is why we have a combination of different salts and different field strength, and then on top of it, what it creates the interaction of we call it emotion.
No pensemos en materia. Debajo de nuestra piel tenemos todo plasma, todo un equilibrio plasmático que interacciona con nuestra emoción, nuestro cuerpo emocional. Por eso cualquier modificación en nuestra emoción referente al entorno que estamos viviendo nos cambia el latido del corazón, la temperatura del cuerpo.
Hi, Wallison. Do you need a
Todo,
translator?
todo equilibrio se va cambiando y se modifica.
Rafael, are you in the background?
Yeah. Raphael, go ahead. Raphael, you can speak there. Go ahead, Raphael.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello. Sim, Wallace, pode falar, por favor.
Conseguindo me ouvir?
Sim, estou te ouvindo, pode falar.
Bom dia para
Acá hay
vocês.
un brasilero que está preguntando y Rafael está siendo de interlocutor, de
Minha
traductor.
pergunta é sobre uma aula que teve anterior, acho que 372, sobre a caneta da saúde, que eu quero saber. A pergunta é a seguinte, foi falado pelo Sr. Cash que a quantidade de voltas, se 81 a 82 voltas, e o diâmetro do fio de cobre usado, isso mudava o comportamento, né, adequado da caneta, na função dela. Foi falado isso porque tem muita gente construindo mais graves, canetas, e acabam fazendo da forma que entendem e acabam não fazendo da forma correta. A questão é a seguinte, assim, em relação ao diâmetro e aumentar a quantidade de voltas, se a quantidade de cobre que é aumentada em massa altera nesse funcionamento correto da caneta.
Okay, so his question is about the teaching that you gave first about the pen. So it was said long time ago that the quantity of turns that you have in your coil to make the coil for the pen and the diameter change the behavior of the pen. So he's saying that a lot of people are making this, so most probably a lot of them are not doing correctly, maybe because they don't know about this change. So he would like to know more about this, if the diameter and the turns of the coils can make a change in the effectiveness and the pen, and what is this change that can happen by the diameter and the turns?
The diameter, the thicker diameter gives you more what we call nanoport area, more powerful field or more surface in the interaction of the field. The turn gives you
Están
more
preguntando por el cambio de diámetro de las espirales y la separación y la cantidad de espirales dentro de cada.
look at coil.
Cada espira está generando un distinto campo y cambian todas las relaciones de los campos de ese imán.
But this one has less combination of fields interacting with each other, where here you have more combination of fields. So here you have possibly, let's say, 2, here you have 4 combination of fields, because here it's only this with this, where here is this with this, with this, with this, or this with this minus this one and this one. Or you have a field which could be these 3, where this one balances out. So when you have more turns, each one of these is different magnetic gravitational fields, and so you interact with more fields.
Cada cada espira y
If you
cada
use it for
tamaño de la
pain,
espira
this might be good
cambia la
for
relación, la cantidad de
small
espiras también.
touch pain,
Todo
but
eso
this is
modifica
good
los
for a
campos
needle,
en relación entre
for
una
a
chapa
burn pain.
o
You
un
might not find this
espiral y
one as
otro.
good in pain as does this one, because the pain of a burn is a multi-layers or more cells. That's
Él
what
estaba
this is.
preguntando
With this one,
cuál es
you create
el
more
efecto en el
circuits,
cambio
extending the power.
del pain pen, de la lapicera de dolor.
Next question.
Y aquí se está cambiando la relación justamente de esos campos para modificar el dolor o la relación en el plasma del cuerpo, donde se aplican la lapicera de dolor.
Bernie, can you go ahead?
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Hi, thank you.
If you could say where you're from first as well, thank you.
From Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Sorry, I'm just trying to read through my questions that I wrote.
Esta persona de Canadá está leyendo todas las preguntas que ha anotado.
Is that what others call like the resonant frequency and vibration?
Can you repeat that?
¿Puede repetir eso?
So for specific elements, their field strength, when you're talking about like transmuting them or producing them in the electrolysis cold fusion reaction, is it
We don't
like
have any of these. We don't have a cold fusion. We're in a different field of knowledge.
Okay.
In a field of fish foundation, understanding the work of plasma, fusion is a dream which will never come true. So it doesn't exist.
Okay.
You amalgamate fields, but you cannot create atomic, what we call fusion as you talk about.
Hasta el señor Kesh a veces no comprende las preguntas.
That's in the world
Yo
of
estoy escuchando muy entrecortado el material que viene por el lado de Víctor. Lo estoy escuchando en otro equipo, pero 15 segundos adelantado. Entonces me hago una ensalada de novela.
That's all fallacy. Theory which is
Encima no sabe explicarse bien la
now we
pregunta.
understand that no fusion is possible.
So you're talking then about standing waves of the fields coming out of plasma, yes?
Can you repeat?
¿Puedes repetir? Quiere-
So
Tampoco
I'm
sabe
not
explicarse muy
talking
bien
about
el
like
que hace la
fusion
pregunta. Está
as in
mezclando
the
los
nuclear world
conceptos
of
de
fusion.
física
I'm
de la
referring to what
materia
you're saying of bringing
con los
matter out of
conceptos
the plasma
de los
field
campos de
state.
energía.
And that
We don't bring matter out of it. We create a condition that the interaction of the fields create manifestation.
No
Totally
estamos trabajando con materia, estamos trabajando
This
con
is,
la relación
that's why we said
de
it's
los
a
campos
mist,
de
and then you
energía de cada
create a
elemento.
condition that becomes that drop. The environment, interaction of the fields of the environment leads to conditional manifestation.
Los campos de energía del entorno
okay, thank you.
hacen que se
One more
crean
question
distintos
is
campos de atracción
with
para
the
distintos
space
materiales o
technology,
condiciones.
is it simply astral projection of the consciousness, or do you create a physical plasma field like a plasma orb
Ahora
or
estamos haciendo
a
una pregunta sobre la
ball
proyección
lightning, for
astral
instance?
que tiene que ver con...
Don't understand.
El señor Kesh tampoco entiende esta
The
pregunta.
plasma technology behind the propulsion of your units.
We do not propel. we find position. And in the plasma technology,
No
we
proyectamos
change the field of
campos, estamos trabajando con campos.
Propulsion is when you bend something to propel yourself. We don't propel. We find a position in a strength.
Encontramos la posición de distintos campos de energía.
That makes
No estamos proyectando
absolute sense.
campos de
Thank you.
energía.
I appreciate that and understands the different dynamic between the two. Thank you.
Ahora comprendo la distinta relación entre una cosa y la
In the
otra.
past or up to now, we rely on extending, increasing field forces to find as creating
Le contesto a Alejandra, los agujeros negros son las almas de cada cosa. No hay una relación, es decir, la relación no son relación entre agujeros negros, son la relación entre almas.
And interaction between the fields. And this is important to understand. Propulsion is
El agujero negro es la manifestación del alma, como se da a conocer ante nuestra percepción. Y yo agrego, por eso cuando te hacen un escaneo de tu cabeza, de tu cerebro, ahí aparece tu alma, como se manifiesta, lo visualizás como un pequeño grano de arroz color negro brillante. Y esa es tu alma, en la forma que lo ves. Pero tu alma es mucho más que eso. El agujero negro tiene toda la energía original tuya.
Technology is from South America, and now has been put to head what we call the propulsion in plasma technology of the NASA.
La glándula pineal es solo una antena de conexión con el superior, de acuerdo a las sabidurías hindúes. Acá no se toca el tema de las distintas glándulas.
What you create, why do you need to burn a plasma? Then you can create a plasma, which is the fields, and you interact, and it attracts you to, and or it, in a way, position you into magnetic field strength balance in respect to the environment. We're hoping very soon to be able to show a lot of these things and be able to see man to understand it. Because when you create these fields, some of these fields interacts with the body of man and define positioning in respect to it. And how we do it. When I've explained this many times, if you've been around the foundation long enough, when the fields travel through the plasma reactors, in interaction with the body of a man, they create a physical interaction. They run like a pulse, and they create themselves invisible atmosphere. And I still do tests sometimes. Some of the knowledge seekers who work with us, when they work near these new plasma combinations,
cuando trabajan ustedes con reactores, todo el entorno interrelaciona con el reactor. Y ustedes, si están cerca, también lo hacen. Todo esto condiciona lo que crean, van a crear. Por eso, siempre cuando hacen un reactor, tienen que poner toda su intención, qué es lo que quieren hacer. Por eso se recalca el ethos, la ética con que uno trabaja. Es fundamental. Cuando lo hemos visto también en estudiantes que han trabajado con nosotros años atrás, si la intención de ellos no ha sido la del ethos,
And
del universo,
you can walk into the
el
snow,
trabajar para el
you can
dar
walk into the
con
fire
el
and
amor,
fire.
no
Because
camina,
these gases in combination
solitos cada
with
uno
the cell of the body of
se
man
margina.
create a field barrier that the heat transfer or energy in the
Muchos terminan mal.
state is impossible. This is in a way how some of the animals
Hay que
we see,
tener el
like
concepto del
shrimps
ethos,
in the
la
depths of the
ética de la
oceans
naturaleza,
at 700-800
el
degrees
dar
exist
para
because they live
recibir,
through this principle. So
no el
try to
pretender
understand how to
recibir
do
porque
it.
damos algo.
In a way, you can get a fireman covered with such a gas and let him go inside a fire building and bring people out. And at the same time, create that protection for them while he's in there. These are the new technologies which emerge out of the Keshwari's coming time. This is not something unusual. If a shrimp can live at 700 degrees in depth of the ocean with such a pressure, the knowledge is there. We have to understand. We have to decipher the field transfer, because the minute you understand that the body of the shrimp is not in the matter state, it's in gas state.
En este momento está hablando de cómo moluscos en el océano, en las grandes profundidades, cómo existen, cómo viven. Ellos conviven con el entorno a altas presiones. Nosotros tenemos que tratar de comprender cómo es que funciona todo esto. Tenemos que pensar en plasma, no en materia. Hemos hablado días pasados de cómo el cuerpo humano está en un vacío en adentro, un vacío con plasma, donde la mayoría de este plasma está en estado de agua y aminoácidos, los elementos. Los otros elementos de la tabla periódica son un muy bajo porcentaje, no llega al 2% del peso del cuerpo de uno en los elementos que tiene el cuerpo humano. Remítanse a Wikipedia con la composición de los cuerpos humanos, sea por peso o sea por cantidad de átomos o moléculas. Y ahí comprenderán que somos todo plasma, todo agua y aminoácidos. El resto de los materiales son una muy poca cantidad que interrelaciona los distintos reactores que tenemos dentro de nuestro cuerpo. Como cada glándula dentro de nuestro cuerpo forma parte de esas formaciones estrellas que trabajan uno con el otro.
There's a big problem with the knowledge systems. By now, most of you should have deciphered the plasmatic fields, environment of a gas or a matter state, and field of
Acá está explicando, hay unos grandes problemas con los buscadores del conocimiento. No han sabido separar lo que es la materia del gas, de los campos de energía y su relación uno con el otro.
Go ahead.
On the 6th of May, teaching will be transferred to 7 o'clock at night, 7 p.m. Central European time, not the normal 9 a.m.
El curso el día 6 de mayo se va a cambiar el horario.
The Thursday, 6th of May, the teaching will be at 7 p.m.
Ahora está Estefanía haciendo una pregunta de un del grupo italiano.
We have a couple more hands up here. Perhaps we can get in Stefania and Hercules.
Two English.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr.
La
Cash.
voz de
I
Estefanía
got
nos vuelve,
a question from
nos revienta el oído.
Italian knowledge seeker, and I'm gonna make, yeah, it's okay. Yeah? So I'm gonna now, yeah, I'm gonna now
Prosigue
put him,
con tu
he will
pregunta.
talk and I will translate. Okay, Alessandro, vai.
Va a hablar Alessandro y
Alessandro,
ella va a traducir.
ti devi togliere il microfono. Non so se potete. Yeah, yes. I asked Alessandro to take off the microphone. Yeah.
Le he dicho a Alejandro que prenda su micrófono para hacer su pregunta en italiano.
Just a second, he's unmuting himself.
Por lo visto no tiene noción de cómo
Alessandro,
abrir su microfono.
Maybe you have to unmute. Il suo microfono è ancora mutato. One second.
Ahí logró abrir su micrófono. Veremos qué pregunta. El que comprenda italiano podrá entenderlo de forma directa.
I'm thinking, how many international satellites have the Italians responsible for, and why the internet cuts out?
Ok, perfetto. Vai, sì, vai.
Ok, ma avete sentito?
Sì, ti sentiamo, ti sentiamo.
Ok, ripeto. Allora.
Escuchiamo.
Dunque, io dicevo, c'è quella modalità che ha spiegato Mr. Cash per dimagrire e quindi assaporare il sale e questo fa espellere poi il sodio. Assaporare lo zucchero e questo fa espellere lo zucchero. Allora, se questa pratica viene fatta da un iperteso oppure viene fatta da un diabetico, ci sono problemi? Io per esempio sono diabetico.
Basically, Alessandro, he's just saying that you, in the past, you talk about the salt to lose weight. You talk about the salt. So you if you get the salt into your mouth, then somehow you expel the salt. I think is what I understand. And then if you put the sugar into your mouth, then you expel the sugar. It's a practice for losing weight in the past. He wants to know if this is okay for who is diabetes or hypertense.
No.
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 Es una pregunta de cambiar la salinidad en la boca y después poniendo azúcar, si esto trabaja sobre la parte. Calculo que Mr. no quiere contestar preguntas sobre medicina.
No.
No es el ambiente para hacer este tipo de preguntas.
Niente. Okay, what's the other question, please?
Niente.
Okay, we've got a question from Hercules, or at least a hand up here.
Ahí tenemos a Hércules, a ver con qué se va a levantar, si él con el mundo o con qué.
Hello, Mr. Cash. Thanks for your wonderful teaching. And can you hear me?
Gracias por su magnífica enseñanza.
Yeah, I just wanted, there's a news about this fifth discovery of fifth force by CERN, Large Hadron Collider.
Está preguntando por una quinta fuerza descubierta
does it have any significance in terms of
en el CERN, allá en Suiza y en Francia?
If it's true, is it like Higgs particle, or what is it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The CERN
No sé de qué estás hablando.
Experiment with at CERN, which there is an evidence about a fifth force in nature. so they say. I mean, it's not fully
Descubren una quinta fuerza que se desarrolla en el ser.
detecting
I
that
have no
Por lo
clue
visto
what
no.
you're talking about.
Sí,
I don't
Don Kesh
do
dice que no
much
tengo la
around
más
science,
pálida
I don't
idea de lo
spend
que
much time
a
around
que
it,
ellos se refieren.
and I'm not aware of.
Debe ser cosa inventada por
I
los
just thought
científicos
maybe
ahí en
it
el
has
CERN
some relation
para justificar
to,
todo su consumo
plasma
de grandes
forces or
energías
something that they're
y
misunderstanding.
capitales.
The whole depends how they done the tests, how they do their tests. There's a lot of problems in CERN. What you aim to show, you aim to create a machine for it. Doesn't mean that necessarily exists in nature. And you know, in CERN, as long as you have somebody to back you with the money, you can come up with anything.
Ahí confirma lo que acabo de decir.
Okay.
En CERN lo único que le dice, desarrollan una máquina para demostrar algo que ellos
I
pretenden
don't follow
demostrar
that. I stopped
y que
following
en la naturaleza no existe. Es solo para trabajar con los grandes capitales y lograr las grandes
It's a good
inversiones.
theoretical work there, but it doesn't fit into the practical plasma work.
Right.
No tiene nada que ver con la naturaleza y el plasma.
Donuts talk about, but in a bigger size. And the exploration technology used is very much non-existence in the world of plasma.
Todas esas ideas no existen en el plasma. Son todas maquinaciones para justificar los grandes consumos ahí en ese experimento.
Well, we did have a couple of
Llevado
questions. I'm
años.
not sure if you want to get into, Mr.
Finish early today. Our target is to finish by 12 o'clock. We have
Okay.
meetings. We have meetings
Sure.
set up.
Nuestra idea es
The
terminar este curso ahora dentro de 5 minutos.
what do you call it? Moving fast. And those of you who are the representative of the television channel, we have asked you to meet us at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Please attend, because we gave you what we call a sandbox for 2 or 3 weeks to test and try things. Now, from 21st of April, Keshe Foundation TV moves into a full gear operation. We need to get you ready for it, that we can do. And in so many ways,
El sábado al mediodía se va a hacer una emisión en vivo de la televisión.
And at the same time, all the knowledge seekers, all the groups, what we call the news, the classes, the students, and the main channel will go into a full operation from 21st. And this is what we need to meet and start the process of...
A partir del 21 de abril esperamos poder tener una emisión posiblemente continua de nuestro canal de televisión.
A new development in Vienna between the Iranian negotiating team and 5-1.
Hemos visto también un gran progreso en las conversaciones entre Irán y la relación con el resto de los países. Aquí en Viena vamos a ver qué pasa en los próximos días. Esto no es una negociación. Traeremos las nuevas condiciones de negociación.
And this will come under the cover of Keshe Foundation, what we call main channels. We bring the technology, understanding of technology from the scientific world and the world of what we call diplomacy and politics into one stream to create the condition of this. And in so many ways, we will see more interactions in coming time. And we want to bring Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers TV channel into what we call into the running position. It's the first time Knowledge Seekers know new people have become running a television channel. And I think you had about enough time for 3 weeks, 4 weeks to do things, to be able to learn and we kick off with a proper running documentaries, interviews, and explanation. A lot of work for knowledge.
Esperamos que todos los buscadores de conocimiento logren generar los suficientes videos para poder mostrar en el canal de televisión a partir del 21 de
In
septiembre.
order to end in the time you wish here, we should call
Ahí
it
está
a day.
Stefania preguntando de nuevo.
I think today's teaching was heavy enough.
Stefania has put her hand up twice here, so perhaps we can briefly hear from her.
Yes, good afternoon. The second question, the microphone was blocked from the same person. It's a very small question. And Ale, do you want to do this question?
Tengo una segunda pregunta muy corta.
Puoi? Ok, la faccio io per te. Okay, I do for him. He said his wife, him and his wife, he knows that you said that the cup of man should have a donna from each individual, but he donned the cup of man, him and his wife together. He said, he asked him if I have to take it apart.
Pregunta si la copa del hombre tiene que hacerlo individualmente. Él lo hizo junto con su esposa.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for today. We have
No pude escuchar cuál fue la contestación. Estaba hablando en ese momento y no entendí. Entonces,
as you will understand now, is for you to understand how you can control the field of your blood circulation if you haven't understood the teaching of today. That allows you, by the way you go to sleep, to extend and expand the strength of your soul.
En base a lo que se ha enseñado hoy, comprendan cómo relacionar vuestra alma con vuestro físico, su cuerpo emocional, y poder interrelacionar uno con el otro.
Ventilation condition, or you can create a condition of a weaker blood circulation magnetic field, and there are ways to do it that it leads to the expansion of the soul of man. And sometimes you say, I did this and I blanked out. It means you have managed to move your soul beyond the physical boundary that you cannot see the image of your own physicality. And then if you can reach that point, you have reached a milestone in understanding of the man's creation and creative point of life, what you call the soul of man. Do not do hyperventilation because you will not reach there. Understand the field existence and a position and magnetic field interaction. Today's teaching is very deep for those of you who understood, and those of you who understood it fully, I have given you the key to be able to release your soul, to be able not to release it, but to control it, to be able to extend the expansion and transmutation of the field. Thank you very much for today. We hope to meet you next week.
En el futuro comprenderán cómo expandiendo vuestra relación entre vuestra alma y vuestro físico podrán transmutar y interrelacionarse y lograr todos estos cambios, estas mutaciones. Esto lo veremos en las próximas clases.
No, sorry, that's at 8 p.m. Central European time, Central European summertime, that is. And people are invited to bring their plasma testimonials to that group. Okay, thank you.
Me está hablando de...
Thank you everybody for attending
Como estaba hablando, no entendí.
300
Creo que estaba hablando de presentar el material para presentar en la televisión para ese sábado. No sé cuál sábado será.
innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balanced fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
John, en nombre de la comunidad hispana te damos las gracias por tu trabajo.
No hay mucho que agradecer, desgraciadamente.
Bueno,
Yo me tengo que poner al día también con las 3 últimas clases anteriores, porque no.
espera y cerramos.
Así no. Esperemos aprovechar las vacaciones esta para poder hacerlo.
Vale, detengo la grabación.